What is up, guys? Welcome back to another video. We are in the Sussy 135, the Identity Crisis 135. I used to be you, but now we are a 1M clone. And we got a little more power too. This thing is feeling great, man. I don't even know what else to say about this car, dude. I've just been driving it like almost every single day. I just throwing the single turbo kit on this car just literally changed everything about this car for me. It made it so much more enjoyable and exciting to drive, and I just have like a whole new love and appreciation for this car. Before we get into today's video, you guys, I want to send out a huge shout out to the guys at Natty Auto Parts. You guys might follow Noor. He has a YouTube channel as well, and he started a company where he basically just goes through BMWs, picks them apart, and then sells off the parts and everything, and they came through. Let me tell you, my boys, we are hooked up. We got a complete E92 M3 rear subframe differential from a DCT car, axles, hubs, the whole 9 yards to change the game in this 1M clone. It is officially going to be a monster. So that is done, sealed, taken care of, and it is on your way to your boy all the way from California. The rear end of this car is going to feel so much better with that rear subframe. This is not a solid rear subframe in this car, and it is an open diff right now currently. So everything is just weaker in the 135, obviously. In the E92 M3, which is the same as the 1M rear subframe, it is a solid rear subframe. It is also a limited slip differential. I mean, the benefits are crazy. Like, it's going to completely change the game in this car. And once we do that, we can also put on my F80 brake conversion as well as my Öhlins road and track coilover. So I'm doing all of that, as well as going through that E92 M3 rear subframe and just refreshing all of the bushings. I'm upgrading any arms that I think I want to upgrade to SPL. It's going to be so sick. It's going to make a huge, huge difference to this car. Like, talk about an entirely different vehicle. Dude, I'm so excited. It's just going to be so good. So really looking forward to that. Anyways, today's video, we are talking about the N54, man, because I think that the most common questions, you guys, that I get about this car, and just like people who are talking online, they want to ask me, A, is this car, is this motor, is this platform reliable? And B, what has maintenance been like? A lot of people are just kind of scared of the N54, if I'm being honest. There's a lot of fear mongering that goes on with the N54, but I have a lot of conversations with people who build these cars up for a living. And obviously I have a little bit of experience owning this one for about, I don't know, a year and a half. And man, this car has been fantastic to me. This engine, this platform has been really, really good to me. But why is that? Why has it been so good to me? I thought N54s were supposed to be the most unreliable things on the planet. Well, it turns out that if you do your maintenance and you take care of the engine and you take care of all of the problematic things that you know are probably going to occur anyways, the engine will return the favor. The motor will return the favor, and you'll actually have a pretty great ownership experience. See, the thing that I don't understand is when a lot of people buy used sports cars, they expect them to last forever without doing any maintenance, and then when they fall apart, they have a huge problem with that platform, and they just say, well, that platform's garbage because this, and this happened. And it's like, well, how many miles did it have on it? What year was it? Did you do any maintenance? No. What are you talking about? Like, you have to do any performance vehicle, you have to do maintenance. It's going to fall apart. All of these engines, they're high performance engines. If you don't want to maintain a car, do not get a high performance sports car. Like, do not buy any of these higher trim like BMWs or any of these platforms, because you're gonna have to spend money to maintain it if you want it to continue running well. That's just the nature of it. And the N54, just like any other motor, it's no different. The B58s, they are also going to have their maintenance things too. As they get up in the higher mileage, those engines get older, everything takes maintenance. Now, maybe the B58 won't be as expensive as an N54 and there won't be as many problems, maybe, but that's also newer technology, you know what I mean? The N54 had to walk so the B58 could run, you know what I'm saying? So these engines are awesome, man. Like you just have to know what to look out for, and you have to know what to take care of. And I'll just kind of go through some of the things that I've already taken care of in this car. Vano solenoids, I already took care of that because I had one fail on me almost immediately. When we were assembling this motor, we did use a mix of used parts. I bought used parts from different people. We didn't really know like how many parts were going to be in really, really good condition or what were kind of like on their way out. We just kind of used whatever we had. My Vano solenoid, one of them ended up going out, I think it was like a few weeks after we got the car on the road. But I pretty much figured out all the weak points like during the shakedown test, right? So like the first couple of weeks where I was putting the most miles on the car, it was pretty clear to me what things were going to need to be replaced almost immediately. Yes, sir. This thing sounds fucking rad, dude. God, this car's so fun to drive. So fun to drive, you guys. I know 335s are fun too, but this little car, the 135, just being so compact, it's just like, dude, it's like a little rocket ship. It's a little go-kart. That has really been my experience so far. I've had this car for like, what, coming up on like a year and a half, I think it's been. Dude, it's been like such a killer car to own, such an awesome platform for me to learn. I'm not gonna lie, dude, like I was one of the people who was super worried about getting into the N54s when I first got this car. I was like, well, here we go. I wanted to try something new. I wanted to try a platform I had never done before, and that's kind of why I went for this. And man, all of the things that I read online, I was a little bit worried. I was a little bit scared. But the things that left me stranded in this car were things that were either due to poor installation or older parts that were going to go out anyways. Like who knows how many miles that previous Vano solenoid had on it. You know what I mean? Like it was probably old as shit, probably needed to be replaced anyways. But outside of that, I did a lot of the things up front to really take care of this engine. When the engine was out of the car, I did all of the bearings, I did the main seal, I did crank guard capture, I did new index 12 injectors, obviously new spark plugs, new belts, new pulleys, like all of the basic stuff, water pump, really went through the car meticulously to make sure that I was just kind of nipping all the things in the butt that I knew could create problems down the road. And by doing that preventatively, man, it's just made this experience so good when driving this car. I understand why people, like some people, have issues with these cars, but also I think it comes down to like really turning these engines up. Like I see a lot of you guys in the comments and you're like, oh, let's like turn this thing all the way up to 800 horsepower. It's like, you have to understand, the moment that you start chasing big power like that, the moment that you are going to be a babysitter, you're gonna have to start babysitting that engine. And it doesn't matter what platform it is, dude. Turn an S55 up beyond its capabilities, turn a B58 up beyond its capabilities, things are going to start to go bad. There are going to be other weak points that correlate to you pushing that engine beyond its limits. It doesn't mean that you can't make really good power in this car, because you can make really good power with this engine. I think that my ceiling is probably about 650 wheel horsepower, but I've been driving this thing around at 500 wheel and it's been a complete joy. Like I really don't even know why I would need to turn it up anymore. I guess just for my own satisfaction in straight lines, but honestly, dude, this thing is perfect at 500 wheel in the corners. I'm telling you, man, it's like the perfect horsepower. I feel like any more might be too much and it would take away from the car. It would take away from the experience. But yeah, with these like back roads and like mountain roads, man, 500 wheel is like, it kind of feels like it's the sweet spot, if I'm being totally honest. It's like you can use all of that power. Like I can really use all the power. It's kind of like the E92 M3. Obviously that car doesn't make 500 wheel, but like I can use all that power all of the time. Like for me personally, I'm not like a drag racer. I'm not really out here racing like that anymore. So like having usable horsepower to me is much more important than having 1,000 horsepower and trying to like beat everyone in races. I'm just not that person anymore. Like I grew out of that a long time ago. Man, you just get lost out on some of these roads and it's just so fun to just drive out here. I don't even know where I am. Like I just keep driving, dude, and I end up in the middle of fucking nowhere, but it's just so nice out here. It's that jet. Man, you guys can't even hear how crazy the T51R mod sounds like through the camera. I'm sure you can hear it a little bit, but it is nuts. It is super, super loud. If I had to drive this car like a daily or something, I don't know that I would do that mod, because it's loud and it can become obnoxious if you're not careful. You know what I mean? Just like having that like whining noise all the time. It sounds cool. It makes for like a really dramatic and like fun experience to driving the car, but man, it's loud. It is definitely loud. Jesus. This thing is mental, bro. Like, you get into it and this thing is, it rips. Feels really, really good though. Like at this horsepower that it's at right now, man, this car feels great. So yeah, like I was saying in the other video, like I've just been putting in so many reps on this car with the current setup. And like even before I went single, like I drove this car, I would say probably like 4 to 5 times per week I'd be driving this car, and I drove it hard. Every single time that I drove the car, I drove it hard. And I did that because I really wanted to see like where the weak points were on this platform and like with this engine. And I didn't have any issues, like continually like am not having issues. It just kind of surprised me. I just kind of assumed that this platform was really going to be testing my patience. And I've been pleasantly surprised that it's really has not been like that. Like that has not been my experience. I've even got people in the comments saying like, oh, you're gonna blow your motor just like Jake Spence and Christian over at Vehicle Virals. And the thing is, man, like these guys, you have to understand, a lot of those guys, they're really pushing the platform a lot harder. I'm not. I'm being pretty conservative with this setup, and I'm doing that obviously on purpose because I don't want to just like toast this motor right away. But the good thing is, you know, I've been doing a lot of looking around at used parts lately, and man, you can get another N54, like you can get another one, a replacement one for like 1,500 bucks. So like, that's really not that much money when it comes to like building up these cars and how much I put into them and all, and like how much I spent on my B58 when that motor went. Dude, 1,500 bucks ain't shit. Like I have no problem going out and just buying another replacement N54. And what I think I'm going to do is buy another one and just build it in the meantime. Like while I'm keeping this motor and keeping the car the way it is, I'm gonna have that second motor built. So when it comes time that I want to throw more power at it, if I even want to, or I'm just looking for more durability out of the engine, I can just throw that one in once it's done being built. And I can build that at my leisure. I don't have to like throw 20 grand at the motor and just build it overnight, you know? But that is also one thing that I really like about these setups is like they're just affordable, dude. Like if you're smart about it and you know what to do and you're not looking to like run 1,000 horsepower on your stock block, you can really build a great car, like a really great performance BMW that will last if you do it the correct way. I think mostly nowadays what we are seeing is just a lot of younger people who are getting into these cars and they're not really taking into consideration the amount of maintenance that it takes on a higher mileage N54 that's, you know, 15 years old and does need upkeep and management. Like you're not going to be able to just hop in that without doing some maintenance. I know this because at CES Motorsport, I'd say like 80%, maybe even more, 90% of the N54s that come in are just totally clapped out. Like they're just leaking oil all over the place. They need all sorts of maintenance items being upgraded or replaced. And it's just like people buy these and they just intend on driving them until they break. They don't really intend on doing any sort of maintenance before they break. So that's just kind of what I've noticed the most with these cars and these setups and these motors. But like my experience, like I said, man, you guys just, if you want to do this, do the maintenance, man. If you do the maintenance, you're going to have such a great time owning this car and it's going to be so much more enjoyable. I promise you. And this car is just like the perfect example of that. Like this thing has just been a joy to own. If you guys are interested in the no bog shift You can easily set that up in MHD. I had some of you guys asking about that. It's literally just an option. Like, you just tick the box in MHD under options, and what it does is it takes out that little bit of lag and bogging between when you change gears. And dude, I did it to this car and I was blown away. I was like, holy shit, like it actually like really works. It makes a huge difference. Some of those things I feel like sometimes are gimmicky, but this is legit. Like it really works. Like the moment that you switch gears and you're laying on throttle, it's nothing but power all the way through. Highly recommended. You're on MHD and you have a manual car, just try it. Try it. Tell me what you think. Yeah, man, I can't wait to get that suspension set up on this car, dude. It's gonna rip. I mean, it already handles pretty good, but it's gonna be way better. I promise. Oh man, I love this little car, dude. I could just literally sit in this seat and drive this thing for fucking hours, dude. It's just so fun to drive. It was fun with the twins. Like it was good, but it was just different, man. Like it felt like it had too much low end power and not enough like upper range power with the twins. And it just didn't sound that good, dude. This car, the sound is a huge reason as to why this car is like so much more fun to drive. Obviously the power is fantastic and like the power delivery and the power band is so much better now, but the sound is incredible, dude. When you hear the exhaust note, it almost has this like S65 characteristic to it. It almost has like a V8 characteristic to it with a little bit of 2J mixed in there. I don't know, tell me if you guys agree with that, because I was listening back to those sound clips that I did of this car and I was like, this thing low-key sounds like a V8 mixed with like a turbo. I don't know, it's nuts. This is the best sounding car personally that I think I've ever owned. Like it sounds so mental, man. And especially once you go over to like the single turbo and you get all of these like fun noises with it, it rips. It's definitely one of the most fun cars that I've ever had the pleasure of owning and like building up. So that has been my experience this far with my N54 in my 135. And I know what you guys are thinking, like, oh, you just threw this turbo kit on. It's too soon to tell if this is gonna be reliable or not. But I have had this car on upgraded twins since I built this car, and it's been absolutely fine. Like no problems with the N54 motor itself. But yeah, I think it goes without saying, man, like obviously you just gotta do your maintenance and it'll just give you a better experience all the way across the board. I think these engines get a bad rep, you know what I mean? I don't think they're nearly as bad as some people say. That's just my opinion. I know there's other people out there with way more experience with N54s, but so far with the experience I've had and the advice that I can give, it has really been a great experience. But we will see what happens. Obviously, I got a lot more time, a lot more power to put into this car, into this motor. I think that building one up on the side while this one is just kind of doing its thing in the car is a good idea. But anyways, thank you guys so much for watching today's video. If you enjoyed it, make sure you like it. If you're new here, make sure you subscribe. I will see you in the next video.